years ago, when my husband and I started dating, he asked me to watch this video on YouTube called Making Toast. And at first, I was like, what the hell? I don't need a tutorial on how to make toast. I already know how to make toast. Anyway, it turns out it's a lean manufacturing exercise. The goal is to make a simple task more efficient by eliminating unnecessary steps. So when I finished watching it, I looked at him and I was like, there's one more thing he could have done. My husband just laughed at me because leave it to me to point out something that was forgotten. But that's when I realized that this is how my brain works. So I'm constantly looking at everyday tasks and asking myself, is there an easier way to do this? Not because I'm in a hurry or I want to cram more into my day. I just like making everyday life a little easier. Take making breakfast, for example. Before I even start cooking, I get everything out that I'm going to need. So I'm not going to go to the refrigerator 100 times, or I'm not going to walk back and forth, across the kitchen. Not that my kitchen's that big, but you get the point. So before I get all of my ingredients out for breakfast, I put my pan on the stove and I turn the burner on. I have an electric stove, so it takes a little while, for the pan to get hot. And my breakfast is the same thing every day. It's 2 egg and cheese wraps. So, and if you've ever cooked eggs, you know you need a hot pan. So I let my pan heat up while I'm gathering up, the eggs, the cheese, the wraps, the cooking spray, everything else. And while I'm making breakfast, I'm always looking for little things I can do since I'm already standing there. Like if I see the counter needs to be wiped down, I would go ahead and do that. If I wash dishes earlier that morning and they're dry, I'll go ahead and put them away. If the cats need fresh water, I'll do that. Just little things. And, or I'll get my coffee. I'll get another cup of coffee, or I'll make an iced coffee. I'm not trying to rush through breakfast. I'm just trying to avoid unnecessary work. So that's the biggest difference. What's funny is that I don't think this way just in the kitchen. I do it when I plan my week. So before I sit down to plan, I make sure I have all of my supplies together. I make sure I've got my calendar ready to go. I make sure my inserts are prepped. And then when I sit down to actually do the work, I have everything that I need. I do it while I'm at work. Before I reply to an email, I make sure that I look into everything. Every single possible scenario that could have come up, I'm checking for. I do it when I budget. I gather up all of our receipts, our pay stubs. I check the banking app beforehand. I do it when I organize the house. So I'm always asking myself, can I make this easier next time? It's not about being faster. It's all about being easier. Because when life is easier, it feels less overwhelming. I think sometimes people hear the word efficiency and imagine rushing around trying to squeeze every second out of the day. No, that's not what I'm talking about. To me, efficiency means removing unnecessary steps. It's making things flow better. It's reducing stress before it even starts. Who doesn't want to reduce stress? Sometimes a tiny change saves 5 minutes. Sometimes it saves you frustration. And honestly, sometimes that's even more valuable. How many times have you gotten frustrated because something has taken longer than you expected it to in your mind? The next time you get frustrated, because something didn't go as quickly as you thought it was going to go, look back and see how you could have done things differently to see if that could have made a change. If you've never seen the Making Toast exercise, I'm going to put it in the description box below. I'd like for you to watch it and then just come back to this video because I'm curious if you noticed the same opportunity for improvement that I did, or if you noticed something completely different. Maybe it's something I missed. Either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's not very long. It's just a couple of minutes, however long it takes somebody to make toast. And I guarantee you, if you're paying attention and you're thinking about efficiency and how to make things easier, I guarantee you're going to see what I saw. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Real Life, Real Talk.